Women in architecture continue to face a number of opportunities globally. These opportunities ensure that women in architecture have progression within the architectural profession. However, women in architecture also face a number of challenges. For instance, gender equity. We have also observed that in some countries, women are limited in terms of the type of projects they are allowed to perform against. Therefore, one could imagine that maybe it's easier for some of the male architects. What we've done on our show today, we invite global renowned architect George Seguya Lubega and ask him whether it is easier for male architects to rise within the profession. This is an unfolding story within the gender equity debate for women in architecture. Welcome to the show, George.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's a critical concern because it brings me to the issue in United States. I was just coming out of a recession in 2008. It was a bitter recession. And then after that, there was no work and everything was confused and no one has, the money is barely, you don't have any money. And actually, when I started licensing exams, I had no money. It was like all that I had would pay everything, because exactly. I had to just sit the exams and everything. But I knew, and I'll tell you something that's true. I borrowed to sit my licensing exams and to pass, and to just sit the exams and everything. But I knew, and I'll tell you something that's true. I borrowed to sit my licensing exams and to pass. And afterwards, I didn't have a job. And can you imagine? Because I didn't have a job, I had to go to another country that was paying me 1/10 of what I would earn. Because I knew I had to leave the US because we are just out of the recession. So many problems, no jobs, nothing. Now I need to go to another country to get anything that I can get so that I can be able to come back and try to start things up again. So in that process of, licensing borrowed money, then, trying to go for whatever was available because I was desperate. I needed something around me, as little as it could be. I traversed the world anywhere that could give me an opportunity. Finally, the opportunity was in Kigali, Rwanda, and I moved there. And then all I had to do was I was just looking at whatever I was getting just to get myself on my feet so I can go back to the US. And then in that process there, I'd applied to so many jobs, and that's when I got into these large contracts. So what I'm trying to bring across is this. It's every person's situation is different. Things are never easy. Very few people have it, everyone going their way. You know that, we grew up in Africa and, I lost both my parents when I was 18. So now finishing high school was a big issue. Someone had to pay for my fees. Thankfully, the university was free. And then when I get to the university, it's free because both my parents are gone. Literally in just a year, 1 year, I had nowhere to go. Because I remember I couldn't walk back at my mother's home. I couldn't. You can't go back to an empty house. And then all my brothers and sisters had ran away abroad because it seems like when my parents died, everyone disappeared. So there I was, because they had gone to try to look for opportunities in other countries. So what I'm saying is that everyone's condition is different. You're never gonna get things free. No one is offering free. I don't know of anyone offering free things because it's all value. You get a job based on the value you bring to a company, and if they see you don't bring the value, you miss the opportunity. Someone else takes sacrifice for it, takes it. Like I said, I borrowed money to get my certifications done, my license. And then I had to leave even the most developed country to work in a third world country where I wanted to get something small. So at least with that small, I can be able to come back and at least, maybe look for jobs or whatever. And then in that maze, I was able to get where I was going. So where people have arrived now, when you meet them, it wasn't like everything was okay. I never used to afford a master's program or a PhD, and yet I can afford it now. When it's the time now, I'm just doing certifications. And yet when I needed it so bad, there was no funding. I was in Britain for a master's, was admitted for a PhD, no money for the PhD. That's why I went back to Uganda. Then leave Uganda, went to the US, because at least there, if you do a PhD, they might pay you something as a student. And then I got there, the immigration thing was messed up. I couldn't get in school. So I started to work until I became a citizen. So I'm just trying to let you know that it's not like things will be easy for everyone. It wasn't easy for anyone. Maybe it's only in America where you have free education, and maybe the UK, a primary to, university. And then the university, you can take out a loan, but that's not the way it's in Uganda and for anyone. Maybe it's only in America where you have free education, and maybe the UK, a primary to, university. And then the university, you can take out a loan, but that's not the way it's in Uganda and in Africa. So everyone has to sacrifice. Some people have, we can provide materials, like I said, for API, for other members to support them. And then as an institution, you can also approach other organizations.
Is it easier for a male architect globally as compared to a woman in architecture? This Friday, we will be joined by 5 women in architecture from Africa. We will continue to answer the question whether women in architecture receive equal treatment with men in architecture. We will be joined by the Uganda Association of Architects Practice Committee Chair, Architect Gloria Bazira from Uganda. We'll be joined by another architect from Kenya, Architect Josephine. We'll be joined by Architect Emma from Egypt. We'll be joined by a number of architects from Sudan. Stay tuned as we continue the debate. Do women in architecture have the necessary conditions to progress within the profession?